All right, time for workshop number two. See, Mystico joined. Welcome. Lewis, Destiny. Awesome. Hey, how's it going, Maria? I'm glad you made it. I think that Maria actually messaged me last time. She wasn't able to get in, but she's here now. So awesome. How many people who are in here right now were in here yesterday for yesterday's stream? Just out of curiosity. Actually, Lewis, I didn't get a chance to listen to it yet. Could you actually send me like a Facebook message with your link or maybe an email, michael@modernmusician.me, and then I'll definitely get to listening to it. All right, cool. Well, let's jump right into it, and anyone who comes later can always join in the middle. So first of all, thank you so much for all of your questions and your comments during our last session. It's super helpful for me. A lot of you told me, kind of where you're at right now in terms of your challenges and with your music career. And in a lot of ways, it reminds me of myself, and it's helped me to be like, oh yeah, that's like, I remember that's where I was, and to kind of get more specific on, how I can help you guys and how I can help you get from point A to point B. Maria does have her guitar on her right now. Awesome. So last session we talked about this tour hacking thing, and we talked about how when I was just starting out with my band, we grew up in South Dakota and didn't really have much of a fan base. We struggled to get people to come out to our shows, played a lot of shows with the exact same people. We live in South Dakota, so there's not really a whole lot of us to go around. We could have brought like new cows in probably, but anyways, the thing that kind of changed everything around for us was this tour hacking thing, which in a nutshell was we actually went and met people who were waiting in lines for shows for bigger bands tours. And there was always thousands of people going to those shows. So it was super helpful for us because we got to meet a ton of people who were quote unquote super fans, people who actually go out to shows. And it helped us to really get in tune with kind of who they are. And we also, at the end, we shared our music. We would sell our CDs at the end if they were interested. And we sold 24,000 CDs like that. And our music, honestly, it was, it's gonna be kind of funny me saying this, but it wasn't that great. It wasn't anything special. We were pretty young and stupid. So I think that our music evolved a lot over time, and it got a lot better once we actually had money we could invest in professional recordings. And doing this was hands down the best way that we made money, especially when you're just kind of starting out, because I know it's one of the big challenges is when you're in the early stages, how do you make an income with your music? So this is one of the best ways to do that. So really, what this method gives you is a way that you can connect with the right fans. And there's two things there, your ability to connect and with the right fans. That's the number one driver of your success with your music career. Is you need to be able to find the right fans who are going to love your music, and you need to be able to find a way to connect with them. And I think one of the biggest challenges right now is people trying to connect online on social media and advertising and spending a lot of money and not being able to cut through the noise very much and not being able to make a real connection, because it's just, as humans, it's not one of the best ways that we first, connect with people, especially if there's already an existing, audience for your music. Then it's hard to make money that way. So yeah, and this also gives you a way to make money, because like we talked about, that's not very easy early on. So this is a way that you can actually, make money that you can invest back into your music career. For us, one of the biggest things when we sold 24,000 CDs, that meant that we got to go back and record high quality music and actually record better albums with our favorite producers. And we had money to afford to travel and pay for hotels. And we were able to invest in musical gear and music videos and photos, which are all things that, there are ways that you can kind of, if you have friends, then that's great. Sometimes they can help you, but, a lot of times money is important because it helps you get higher quality things like that. So this is a great way that you can make money doing this method. And again, the third thing that it gives you is that you connect with the right people. You connect with not just Joe Schmo fans, but you're actually connecting with the people who are super fans, who go out to shows, who are willing to spend money, at shows. And those are the most powerful people for you to connect with for your music. So even if you're not selling anything when you're in line, it's still incredible. It's still really, really helpful for your career. I know a lot of people are like, I don't have a physical CD, or, I feel uncomfortable with selling something. And that's something I had to get over too. Like I was a super shy kid, so I understand that. But the thing is, even if you don't sell a CD at the end, really what it does is it just kind of gets you in tune with your fans, and it helps you meet the right people, and helps you network, and it helps you. You've probably heard, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And in the music industry, that's so important. And so what this does is it puts you in front of the right people. I do one-on-one consulting, and one of my clients, his name is David. He took this tour hacking thing, and he literally, like the day after I told him about it, he was out doing it, which is awesome. That's pretty rare. Usually people have to like warm up to the idea, but he was just like out doing it. And he didn't have a physical CD. He just had some songs on Spotify, and he had his digital album that hadn't even come out yet. And so he didn't sell anything. But the next time I talked to him, he was like, buzzing and glowing, because, he had met so many of the right people, and he actually, he felt like heard and understood. I think, it's like, I think for a lot of us, when we don't have an audience, we wonder, like, is there something wrong with our music? Is something wrong with, there's just a lot of validation, I think, that comes from meeting people who genuinely like your music. It kind of gives you faith in yourself a little bit. And he also met a Grammy Juno award-winning producer in line, and he made a new contact. He actually got his info, and they keep in touch now. The guy like wrote like a blurb for his music, and he gives him constructive criticism and critiques for his music. So doing this, again, a huge part, maybe even more valuable than like, the financial part of it, are the connections that you make, and it's the networking that you get through it. So one analogy that I really like to use for why this is so helpful is that it's like you're getting in tune with your ideal fans, with your super fans. And so this is an analogy that hopefully everyone will be able to understand. It's like throughout life, and we're gonna get like a little bit kind of like abstract and ethereal here, but your fans, your super fans, are kind of like, it's like they're playing a chord. It's like they're playing a C chord, and that's just like part of what, like that's just what they're emitting. That's like part of their being. That's their essence. That's how they're at a certain frequency. And when they go out to these shows, usually throughout life, they're playing the C chord, but it's kind of quieter because it's just in their daily life. They're not necessarily always thinking about music, right? Like, but for a lot of them, it's a big part of their life. And, sometimes it's louder. Sometimes they're with friends and they're talking about music, and it gets, a little bit louder. And then other times, it's just in the background, it's playing kind of softly. And then when they go to shows, it's like, bam, like they're, that chord for them is playing a lot louder. And I think as musicians, sometimes when we're kind of starting out and we're struggling to build more of a fan base, if we try to use like the online method, and we try to market our music online to them, then it's sort of like, they're playing this C chord, right? And, they're online, they're on Facebook, so they're not playing it super loud. It's kind of quiet. And then we come in and we're like F sharp, we're playing like a completely different frequency. We're playing a different chord, and it kind of clashes with the chord that they're in tune with. And so I think part of what's so valuable about doing this and meeting people, even if you're not selling anything, is that you're actually connecting and networking, and you're getting in tune with the super fans, the people who are the right fans for you. And you're getting in tune with them because when they're at those shows and you talk to them, their chord is playing pretty loud. And so it's really hard, like it's playing so loud that it's much easier to listen. Like when you're actually talking to them, even it's kind of subconscious, I think. You don't even necessarily have to think about it like this, but just by spending time with them and getting like face to face and talking with them, you start to notice and listen to like what key they're playing, what chord they're playing. And so then, you come in and you start playing these harmony chords, to it. And, you start making music. And so that's one of the reasons I think that this is so valuable, even if you're not selling anything. Just connecting and networking and getting in tune with those fans, it lays over into everything in your music career. Then when you go back and you go online and you say something, then it's like you're going to be saying something where it's like, maybe, they're going to be playing it quieter because they're not at a show. So they're not really thinking about music that much. But then you might come along and, on your thing, you're playing nice little complementary chords. And you're doing that because you've got in tune with them first and you connected with them. Yeah, so getting in tune is super, super important. Okay, so this lesson, we're going to dive in, and I'm really going to teach you the exact process that I used to use, because I know a lot of people's questions is like, this sounds great. So what do I actually say? Like, how do I approach people? What shows should I choose? How do I, what if they're clearly not interested in me? Like when I start talking to them, and if I have a CD, like how do I actually sell it in a way that doesn't feel like, I'm sort of begging or kind of push people away. So that's what this lesson is going to be all about. All right. Yeah. So again, that's one of the biggest questions I get is from people who I think are a lot like I was. So I was like super, super shy. And the last thing that I would have done naturally is just like walk up to strangers. Even if I knew that it was the right thing to do, it was still terrifying. And to be totally honest, when I was getting ready to teach this course, I actually went back out and I did this again, just so I could like test and make sure that it still works. I did it with some music that wasn't the band. I did it with like some solo stuff. And it was scary, like it was weird because, I've been through all these things. I've accomplished this stuff. Our videos have done like 15 million, views on YouTube. We have over 20 million streams, toured worldwide. And I still getting ready to go out and meet just like random people standing in line. Like as we were driving up, I noticed like I was feeling afraid, and there's all these excuses that were coming up for me where it's like, oh, it's not really a big enough line, like, oh, that doesn't seem quite right. I don't know about this thing. Like maybe I should wait until next time. So even that still comes up for me. So that's like a very normal part of the process. And I think that's something that you're going to find if you actually take this advice to heart and you decide to do this, is that you're going to have to overcome this kind of like internal sabotage, because it's not in our natural biology to do this. It actually goes against the grain of kind of just how we're wired. I think that's one of the reasons that more people haven't actually done it. But the people who have had amazing results. I just heard about this band, a summer high, who did this, and they sold like 850 CDs in 3 days. They just did this like a year ago. So it works really well. And I feel like we've told enough people about this. We met enough people that, it should be more out. But the reason that it's not is because it isn't, it goes against the grain of how we're wired. So it's really scary. And it takes a lot of guts to do. And so that's one of the things I'm hoping that this does for you is having this workshop, is it kind of gives you the faith and the awareness to realize that as you're getting ready to do this, there's going to be things that come up. Maybe there's obstacles. There's going to be things that it's like, I don't know if I should do this. And those are going to come up, and you just got to kind of like embrace them and do it anyways. Lewis says, Ice Nine Kills did the same thing on Warped Tour. Yeah, so Warped Tour is a big place where I think that a lot of this kind of stuff originated. So we actually got the idea of doing this from Mayday Parade, and we heard about them doing it at Warped Tour. I think from what I've heard, Warped Tour, it's a little bit harder to do it just because there are like, people around the festival have done it so much that, it's sort of lost its effect. So with this, actually, like, doing it on tours, I feel like it works a little bit better. And also, like we've talked about this before, but it works best if there's like a line, if people are waiting for something, because if they're moving around or they're doing something, they have momentum, then it's just going to be harder to stop them and to actually have a conversation and not feel like you're kind of pulling them away. Okay, so I'm going to go through the exact approach. I'm going to let you know what I used to say. This is after refining this for a few months. This is kind of what I came up with, and it worked really well for me. When I started doing this, I never had a bad introduction. It was always great, and 4 out of 5 groups I talked to, at least one person would actually buy a CD. And usually if there's a group of 4 or 5 people and one person buys a CD, then that means that 3 or 4 people buy a CD. And so this is, by the end of when we were doing this, I was selling between 40 and 50 CDs per day on average, sometimes over 100 CDs in a single day, just on my own. So you can do this and you can have a huge impact. Even if let's say that you went out and you did this for 20 days, you found 20 shows on a tour. And let's say instead of selling 50 CDs a day, you sold 10 CDs. And let's say that it's like a $10 CD. So that would mean that you sold 20 times 10. That means you sold 200 CDs and you made $2,000 in 3 weeks. So that's pretty awesome. And again, the money thing, it's really nice because it's a way to make income and to invest back into your music career. But honestly, it's not just about that initial money. It's more about the relationship you're building with those fans and the ability to connect with them further on. I've never heard about anyone doing that here in Brazil. That's awesome. That gives you a pretty big opportunity, especially, you'll have to find shows where there's like a line. But yeah, especially right now, I'll take you through my exact approach and, you can test this, you can see if it works as well there. And I would love to hear, your results from it, Maria. So, okay. So exactly how this would work is first, as I'm walking up to the line, the first thing I'll do is I'll walk to the front of the line, because the front of the line, those people at the front, those are like the ultra super fans. They showed up early. They're the ones who their chords playing the loudest. Like they're playing like a very strong chord. They're resonating with the music. That's why they showed up. And so talking to them first, it makes it a lot easier to hear the chord that's playing, and it kind of gets you more in tune quicker. And those people are also usually the most open to actually, talking with you and to listening to your music and to giving it a shot. And there's like momentum that kind of carries from that. And also, if you're starting at the front and then going to the back, then it's great because you're going to have this great, conversation with these people, and they're just going to be laughing and you're going to be enjoying themselves. Maybe, they'll even buy a CD, and, everyone behind them kind of gets to see this happening, and it gives you, quote unquote, social proof. So these other people online, they get to see that, so they get to see sort of what's happening, and they're curious. They're wondering who you are. They see that obviously, you're having good interactions with these people, and it just kind of warms them up. So when you get further down the line, it's a lot easier to start the conversation. So yeah, that's why I would start at the very beginning. And the very first thing that I would say when I walk up to someone is I would ask them, I'd say, hey, are you here for the All Time Low show? And, it's kind of obvious, like, of course, they're there for the All Time Low show, but that question is incredible and it works really well for a couple of reasons. One, it's like a super low key question. There's like no commitment. It's really easy to answer. They don't have to really think to answer that question. Just like, yes. So they say yes. And two, it gives you context. So, if you just walk up to some random person like in line and you say, hey, how's it going? Then there's just something a little bit weird there. Like they don't know, like, are you like a homeless person who's just walking up and just like, is going to beg them for money? So it's really good if you ask them that question, like, hey, are you here for the All Time Low show? Because it puts it into context. They're like, oh, this is something to do with the All Time Low show. And yes, like I am here for that. So, every single time, like, yeah, we are. We're like, here we are. So I'd say, awesome. Is it okay if I talk to you for a couple minutes while you're waiting in line? And this is another really important follow-up question because you don't want to just start talking to them just like, it's sort of too forceful, I think. At least it was from my experience. If you just go in and just start talking with them, because you don't really have permission to enter their conversation. So asking a question like, is it all right if I talk to you for a couple minutes while you're waiting in line? It gives you permission and it opens them up. When they say yes, then it's like they're inviting you into the conversation rather than you kind of like forcing yourself. And if for some reason they would say no, and 99 times out of 100, everyone would say yes. But if they said no, then you can say, okay, thank you. Hope you enjoy the show. And then you talk to the next person, like literally right next to them. Now I remember doing that, I think maybe like once or twice, and it was just funny. And then it's not a big issue. But that's a great follow-up question because it opens things up. And Okay, so I was like, hey, are you waiting in line for the show? Like, yes. Is it all right if I talk to you for a couple minutes while you're waiting in line? Yes. And also another tip is at that point, when you're like asking that question, you don't want to be kind of like timid, I guess. Like usually when you're asking that second question, you want to kind of have like a smile on your face. Like, and I know, and part of that is like you want to act confident. And I know that it's hard to do that when you haven't done this before and you're kind of learning it. Um, so one, this is a skill. Like you're going to improve, you're going to get better at this. When you sat down and you started playing piano, or when you sat down and you started playing guitar, you didn't just expect to just be Mozart right away. Like you knew it was a skill, you had to learn over time. So that's how this is too. But I'm kind of playing the role of like a teacher. Like I'm showing you what you need to do and how to do it and what to say in a way that hopefully it's going to help you save a lot of time, a lot of embarrassment that I had to go through to learn it. Um, so if you don't feel confident yet, then just fake it till you make it. Just act like you are, and that's fine. That's actually, there's been a lot of studies and stuff about faking it till you making it, and that's how a lot of people, like, that's one of the best ways that you can learn a new skill, is that you just dive in, you just start doing it, you pretend that you're pro at it, and then you kind of learn along the way. So you say, awesome, is it all right if I talk to you for a couple minutes while you're waiting in line? And they would say, okay, sure. So at this point, a couple of the big questions that they're wondering in their mind is they're going to be thinking, exactly who is this person, and why are they talking to me? So I like to answer those relatively pretty quickly. So I would say, okay, so my name is Michael. I play keyboard in a band called Paradise Fears. And basically we're huge fans of All Time Low. And we've noticed that like, at these shows, there's all these people who are out here waiting in line. And we thought that one of the best ways that we could connect with people who probably are going to like our music too, would be to actually meet face to face and share our music with people standing in line. So if you're interested, I have a pair of headphones here that you can listen to a couple clips of our songs. Although I should probably warn you that most people who listen to it enjoy it so much that they start to like cry and faint. So if you need any tissues, I brought a bunch of tissues. If you start to faint, I have really fast reflexes so I can catch you. And that was great. That was like a great icebreaker. So at that moment, if there was any tension, usually it kind of opened up and it relaxed. So, I mean, if you want, you can use my same icebreaker. You can come up with another one yourself. You can kind of figure out over time. But it is nice to have some sort of like little like funny bit there. So then they'd be like, oh yeah, like, like you better make sure you catch me if I faint. Like, and a lot of times I would like to talk to people if they're in groups of like 4 or 5, just because then you can talk to more people at once. So the headphones I had, and I'll share a link. They're like $10 on Amazon, but you can split them apart so that it's really easy to hand one to one person, one to another, and they can kind of listen side by side. That's great because it kind of just like doubles your efficiency. So you can talk to a lot more people. And so 2 of them would be listening, and maybe there would be a group of 4 or 5 people. And so at that point, that would be a great opportunity for me to like start a conversation with other people and ask some questions like, so how long have you been an All Time Low fan? Or how have you been to an All Time Low show before? Is this your first show? What's your favorite All Time Low song? I really like keeping it like the topic can be focused on the band that they're there to see, because that's one point where if you're doing this right, if you're choosing the right shows, then this should be for a band that you're a fan of. And that's something that you have in common with those people. And it's something that brings you together. I mean, that's kind of the point of music altogether, is that it brings us together and it creates this connection. And that's why we love it so much, right? And so that really naturally happens when you start a conversation about music and about who they're there to see. Because, and it's also bringing this back to this in tune analogy. They're playing this chord, and when you ask them a question like that, you're asking them a question very in tune with their chord that they're playing right then. So it works really well. I would it would move its way around, and I would recommend doing 20 to 30-second song clips and making like 4 or 5 different options that you can choose from. Sometimes it might depend on the show. Like you might actually choose a clip that you think is going to resonate more with people who are fans of this band. but it's great to test. It's one of the things you can do is you can play the different songs, see what people's reactions are. You can test the waters a little bit, and then start playing the song that is better more often. So then, once everyone had listened to it, then I would take the headphones back, and I'd say, I would ask, I'd say, so like, what did you guys think? Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? And 99 times out of 100, they would say, oh, we really liked it. How do we find out more? Like, are you on Spotify? Or and at that point, that's your cue to be like, you know what? Like, if you guys liked it, if you're interested, I do have a bag full of CDs. And this is called Yours Truly. There's 11 songs on it. We recorded it with, X, Y, and Z. And in a lot of ways, it's like if All Time Low and Mayday Parade and Parachute got together and they had a baby, it would be like the CD. So if you guys like the music, if you're interested, usually there's 11 songs on it. So usually we charge $10 for it. But to be totally honest, I mean, if you have $10 on you and you want to support us, we really appreciate it. It goes towards recording new music and traveling costs. But the reason I'm out here right now isn't, to make money. That's not why I became a musician. The reason I'm out here is because this is my passion. And I think that if you liked our music and you're here for this show, I think you would genuinely actually enjoy our songs. And a couple of the songs you listen to are on here. So like I said, if you had an extra $10, we really appreciate it. But the reason I'm out here isn't for the money. So if you don't have $10 on you, then I'm happy to give you a CD for free. And that was like the approach that worked the best for me, because it kind of came from this place where it was true. Like it really, like, it wasn't about the money. And that's one of the mindsets I think that going into this is really important. That making money, it is important, and like it can help your career. But the reason you're out there, the main reason, is so that you can make a connection and you can get in tune with those fans. And most people, they're actually going to be like, you know what? I actually have $10 on me. Like, and I want to support you. I want to get your CD, even though people don't generally listen to CDs anymore. It's kind of weird, but they still buy CDs, especially in this circumstance. I think that it's more about them liking you and wanting to support you. So 4 out of 5 groups, someone would buy a CD, and it would work incredibly well. And yeah. And so then at that point, I'd say, thank you so much. You're incredible. I really appreciate it. Actually, I have a Sharpie here, and some people, like me to sign it. Is that something you would be interested in? So that one day, when All Time Low is opening for us, you can you can tell your granddaughter that you have the CD and it's signed. And usually at that point, they're laughing and everyone's happy. And so I would sign it for them. And this is super valuable too, like for other people who are down further in the line, and they're watching this happen, and they see you sell a CD, and then they see you signing it. That is just like really good social proof, and it kind of just it's really effective for later on when you talk to more people online. And then to stay true to your word, if a lot of times, well, not necessarily a lot of times, but sometimes I would have people who said, you know what, like I really want a CD, like I want to support you, but I don't have $10 on me right now. And in that circumstance, I would say it's no problem at all. Like, honestly, I would just want you to have a CD because I want you to have something to remember this conversation by. And I like you as a person, like, and I think you're actually going to like the music. So, this one's on me. And a lot of times when you do that, you're talking to someone further down the line later, and that same person comes running up and is like, hey, my mom came, like she gave me $10. Here you go. You can have $10. Like, awesome. Thank you. Yeah, there's awesome. I think doing that, it builds up generosity, and people, appreciate it, and it creates a fan. Even if they don't buy a CD, it creates a fan. And so that's why it's really super effective. All right. So the next step that we're going to run into is I'm going to show you how you get started choosing the right shows. So, maybe you're on board, you want to try this out, maybe you want to dip your toes into it. Maybe you want to just go out and start doing it around the country, which is awesome. But maybe you just want to figure out where to start. Then your first step is, how do I find the right shows to go do this at? So one of the best tools that I found is an app on your iPhone called Bandsintown. So I'm going to try something new here. I'm going to try sharing my screen on my iPhone to here, and you should be able to see it. And I'm going to take you kind of through the process for how you use Bandsintown to track the artists that are similar to you. So if you were here last time and you saw the quote unquote homework, it was just to choose a list of 5 to 10 bands who would be like dream tours for you. So if you have those, then you can kind of get started on this Bandsintown step immediately. But I'm going to show you exactly how you would get started finding the shows to go do this at. Boom, I think it's working. Cool. Okay, so your first step is to open up the App Store, whether you have an iPhone or the Android. I think you have both. Like it has, the app is for both. And you go Bands in Town. So this is an awesome app in general. Like there's if you like going to shows, this is a great app for you. It's awesome for what we're about to do. I already have it downloaded, so I'm just gonna hit open. Okay, so from this screen, you see at the bottom, you see all these different things. So you wanna go to the left, and then at the top, there's 3 categories. Right now it's on events, but I'm gonna go to artists. So I've already previously entered in a list of artists that I like. So I kind of have them entered there, but let's see. Oops. Actually, maybe what you need to do first. Actually, yeah, so sorry, I switched things up on you a little bit there. So before you go here, this is where you go at the end. First, you want to go to the search bar. So it's second from the bottom left. And if I was going to search for All Time Low, so you choose your 5 bands, you just enter them in up here, and you click on them. And at the top, if you're not tracking them yet, then you can click this big track button. Boom. And what's super cool, this is why I love this app, is that once you click tracking, it gives you some suggested artists. So this is super valuable. So you can track those. And then if you go down a little bit more, you see similar artists. So a lot of bands I just would have kind of forgotten about, but they're currently touring. It would be perfect. Mayday Parade, awesome. So you can track them. You can see the suggested artists, and you can go down to similar artists. And you basically go through all of these and you click track. You do the suggested ones, you find the similar ones. And by the end of it, you probably want to end up with around 40 to 50 bands at least that you're tracking here. And it won't take you more than 5 or 10 minutes. So once you have all those bands, then go back to the bottom left on here, and you can see all of those bands. And you click the middle button at the top where it says events. And you can start to see when some shows are coming nearby. You can even change the location. So if you wanted to plan a whole tour where you're going to do this, then you could change the location and figure out shows that were going to be nearby. And you could, if you like traveling and you just wanted to go on a big adventure, then you could do this, and you could figure out a route for yourself, and you could find different bands to do it on. Or you could get started with just one tour that you think would be a really good fit, and you could follow the whole tour around. So from there, you get to see not only bands that are coming nearby, but you get to see the amount of RSVPs. So there at the top, you can see 396 RSVPs. And that's really valuable for knowing, if a show is going to have enough people to be worth, going to, so that there's at least a line. And from there, you can click on the event, and there's an address right here. And you can look it up on Google Maps. You can find out how close it is to you. Boom. So I could spend 20 minutes and I could go do this and probably meet a bunch of awesome people and probably get about 10 times the amount of benefit from meeting those people who are actually at the shows, then I would get booking a show, myself, if I don't already have an existing fan base, just playing a show and just hoping people are going to come out. Before you do that, you actually want to have an audience of people who are coming out. So when you meet people, then it gives you people to actually contact and to get to come out to your shows. So someone asked the question. I'm going to quit screen sharing here. Boom, we're back. All right. Maria says, should we try to get their email for the email list, or is that not the time? That's a great question. So there's actually a whole lot. But when we were doing this, one of my biggest regrets is that we didn't focus more on building our email list while we were there. So there's some really cool stuff, especially nowadays. Facebook added this lookalike audience, where basically what you can do is at the end of your conversation, I would say after you offer the CD, whether people say yes or no, what you want to do is probably say something along the lines of, hey, thank you so much for getting a CD. I really appreciate it. I'm going to keep talking to more people and spreading the good word. But I was wondering, one of the songs that you listen to is actually it's not even officially released yet. And if you're interested, I could, when I go home tonight, I could send you the song. And a lot of people are like, oh yeah, send me the song. And from that point, I'll be like, okay, awesome. What's your email address? Can you just, I have a little note on my phone. Can you just write your email address? And people will write their email address. And one of the best things you can do is, and this is really, really smart, is the people who bought a CD from you, you can put them on one list. And then the people who didn't buy a CD, but you still had a good conversation with, you can put them on another list. And what you can do is when you go home, we're getting into some kind of advanced stuff. So it goes a little bit out of the bounds of these 3 days that I can teach you, but you can sign up for an email provider. I know MailChimp has like a free one you can do. I use Drip. It's a little bit more advanced, but MailChimp is great. That'll be a good place to start if you haven't done any of this yet. And you can add those emails to MailChimp, and you can add 2 different audiences. You can have 2 lists. You can say the people who bought a CD and the people who are awesome, but they didn't buy a CD. And once you have that email list, you can set it up so you send out an email. So as soon as you get home, then you just add all the people that give you their email. You add them to the list, either one on MailChimp. And you can set it up so it automatically, when they get added to the list, it follows up maybe like that night. And it says, hey, it's so nice to meet you online. Thank you so much for supporting me and getting a CD. Like I mentioned, here's that free song. Hey, and if you're interested, I would love to hear, did this make it to you all right? Can you just hit a reply and let me know if this email made it to you all right? And we're getting really advanced here, but with email providers like that, one of the issues is that sometimes they start to go into spam folders, or they go into promotion stuff, even if it's, you're not selling anything on that email. So what you can do is, if you start by asking a question to them, and you say, hey, I just want to make sure that you're getting this email all right. Can you see this? Did you get the song? Or just let me know what you thought of the song. And they reply and they say, hey, I got the song. It's great. Thank you. And then you reply back. That tells Gmail, that tells the email providers, hey, this is actually a real person. This is a conversation. This is between 2 parties who actually are consenting, and they want to hear from each other. They've actually met in person. And then it actually delivers your emails to their inbox rather than going to their spam or whatever. So that's a really effective thing you can do for your first thing, is you just ask them to reply for something. And then within the emails, you can also mention, you can say, hey, if you can tie this into when you meet people, but maybe you can take a photo with them, and you can say, hey, can you take a photo and maybe send it to me later. And then in the email you can say, like, can you do me a favor and post that photo of us on my Facebook page, or like on my Instagram, or tag me on Instagram, or whatever it is that you want to use for social media. And I know with Paradise Fears, when we were doing this, we didn't even drive, like we weren't, like I said, one of my regrets is that we weren't more focused, and that we got, focused on the email thing. But even just naturally, like we got a ton of engagement and a ton of people coming to our Facebook page from all this network and all these people we were meeting. And I remember like friends of ours being like, what is going on? Like, I see all this stuff happening for you guys, and your numbers are shooting up. All these people are taking photos with you. Like, what's happening? And it was because just naturally through word of mouth and like grassroots marketing is working really well. Maria says, dang, my phone died. I'll have to go back and watch that again. Yeah, I'm gonna get the replay up and running here as soon as I can after we're finished here, and it'll probably be a lot quicker this time because yesterday it quit out unexpectedly, so I had to like piece some stuff together. So I'll get the replay up for you at the end, Maria. So yes, email is super valuable if you can have those two different lists. More advanced stuff too with Facebook marketing, with Facebook ads. We've talked about this before, like yesterday, but it's not super effective to start with Facebook ads to like people who have never heard of you before, because people don't really care that much. It's not really relevant. They haven't met you. If you're actually targeting people with those Facebook ads that you met face to face in line, then they're honestly probably at least 100 times more likely to click on your post when they see it. So it's a lot more effective if you do it that way. And there is a way that you can take those emails you got, you upload them to Facebook ads, and you can create an audience where you send your ads specifically to those people. And this is where things get kind of crazy, ninja crazy. So you can actually, once you have that custom audience on Facebook of people that you met in line, you can create a lookalike audience, which basically Facebook has this super advanced, crazy algorithm that detects all these similarities between the people on your email list that you don't even, it's like subconscious. And they find things that piece them together, and they create a lookalike audience. So they create about 1 million people who fit the same criteria, who are alike to those people that you met, or the people that you gave them in the list. So you can create a lookalike audience out of those people that you met in line. And that's so crazy effective because that lookalike audience is based on people who actually go out to the shows. They're the quote unquote super fans. And if you have the list specifically for the people who actually bought your CD, then you know that, again, coming back to this analogy of playing in tune, you know that you're sending your ad out to people who are playing the same chord as the one that you play. So you're just going to naturally resonate. There's something inside of you that when you met those people, connected with them, and you compelled them to want to support you and to be a part of your music and who you are. There's something that resonated. And so Facebook can find that chord, that thing that resonates, and they can put it in front of people who fit that criteria. So super, super effective. Okay. Let's keep rolling here. Okay, so that's pretty much what I got here for you in terms of lessons for today. But at this next point, I'd love to answer any of your guys' questions that you have. If you want to come on live, you can unmute yourself and start your video if you want. Or if you have questions you want to shoot in the box, I'll answer your questions there. And if nobody has any questions, then I'll just kind of go through some more questions that I hear a lot of the time. So, off topic, but is your band touring in Chicago soon, dude? Darren. So we actually just played Chicago a few weeks ago. Melanie, I know you're watching this right now, and I feel bad because I know you wanted to come to the shows, but her flight got canceled because of the bad weather. That sucks. So, okay, this is what's going on with our band right now. So about a year and a half ago, we stopped touring as often. We had been touring like 24/7. I got married. I want to start a family soon. And the other guys are lead singers in LA. He just got his first book publishing deal, and everyone kind of has their own things. traveling and touring isn't exactly what I want anymore, but I'm still passionate about it. I'm passionate about music. So like, that's why I'm here right now. This is why I have more time than I've ever had before. I'm not constantly on the road. But that being said, you know, we're still a band. We still get together. We still fly out to LA about once a year and we record music. We still play shows occasionally when we feel like it. In New Year's, around like New Year's, we all flew up north and we played Chicago, we played New York, and we played Boston. And, you know, we were playing sold out shows and we haven't released music or like toured in over a year. And that just shows when you have a connection, like a really strong and deep connection with your fans, then it lasts, you know, and it's like the roots of a tree. You know, it's not easy to pull those out. And that's the only reason most bands, honestly, if they were going to pull something like that, they wouldn't be able to sell out shows like that. And I think one of the reasons that we're able to do that was because we always focused on creating that connection. And that's what this whole tour hacking workshop is all about. Melanie, I'm sad too. I wish you could have made it. That sucks. I mean, there's nothing you could have done. It's the damn weather. Darren, thank you. I appreciate it. Okay, so does anyone want to come on here live? Want to get a little brave and get on video and ask some questions, or just talk a little about their specific situation?
Yeah, really my question is, so, you know, you go up to your first person to do that and it goes great, but then people in line next to them, like, already know what you're doing. So, like, how do you go about being like, hey, number two, like, same thing you just kind of probably saw, but not in a weird way.
Yeah. So a couple of things. One, and I think this is a big mindset thing. I feel like one thing that holds people back from doing this is maybe feeling like they're doing something a little bit wrong, or like they're wondering, like, is this legal, or is it like, am I stealing fans? So first of all, like, you know, you want to think about it when you're doing it, like you're actually providing value and you're building the community, you're connecting with people. People want you to be there. You being there is awesome, and it makes things more exciting and more fun for them. And it's actually good for the bands too. It actually, you know, it stirs things up and it gets the community moving, and it actually makes the shows more successful for them. So that's one thing. It's not a bad thing if other people see you doing this. And that situation, I've literally run into that situation so many times. I would go right down the line a lot of times. I would talk to the right next to the person who was literally just there. Sometimes also what I would do is I would kind of bring multiple groups into one conversation. And this is a little bit of an advanced tactic that, you know, once you feel more comfortable with what you're doing, then you're going to be more comfortable having more people you're talking to. But when you do that, then, you know, there's kind of more people at once you're talking to, and that's great. And then you don't necessarily run into that situation where someone heard you say exactly the same thing. Another thing, like, you could skip, you know, some groups if you wanted to. Sometimes after you do this for a while, you get good at kind of noticing who are the best groups to talk to. Like, you'll get clear. It's about getting in tune with your ideal fans. So you'll kind of notice who those people are just based on your interactions with them. So you might skip some people online and you might, you know, go talk to the people that you think are going to have the best, you know, impact. But if you do talk to the person right next to them, then a lot of times you can say almost the exact same thing, or you can just skip your intro. Like, if they heard what you were talking about, then you can talk to them and you say, like, hey, like, how's it going, guys? Did you hear what just happened here, like, with this conversation? They're like, oh yeah. Be like, awesome. Like, are you interested in listening to some songs? And, you know, so you'll just kind of cater it so that you don't necessarily have to repeat yourself, and you don't want it to come across like you're just giving a completely canned routine. You know, a lot of it kind of comes down to just feeling out the moment and talking to people. And so, yeah, does that help? Do you still have any questions? Or
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I know, like, with me, like, the same. I'm not necessarily a shy guy, but I'm a pretty quiet guy, so I get social anxiety, like, insanely bad. But I already, like, actually my favorite band ever is doing a tour, and I've already, like, decided, like, I'm doing this, like, as much as I can with that, and around, I'm just gonna, like you were talking about, I'm just gonna throw myself out there and kind of wing it and be myself and be honest, because this is something that means more to me than anything. It's not even a passion. It's like an obsession. We've been writing, and we have an EP coming out next month, so it's all going to time out just right to do this. I'm excited.
Dude, that's awesome. That's super cool. I'm really glad to hear that. If you have any questions, like as you're doing it, or challenges or whatever, feel free to reach out. My email, I think I've posted here a couple times, but yeah, I'm happy to help. It's kind of like I'll be living vicariously through you a little bit. I've noticed with this consulting stuff where I've started to work with other artists and kind of help them share their music. With Melanie, you produced her album. In a lot of ways, I don't know, it's kind of like having a kid. And most people, I guess, who are watching this probably don't have kids, but I think there's sort of this thing that happens where it's like, in some ways you're living vicariously through them, and it makes you really happy to see them happy and to see them doing well and succeeding. And I've noticed that when I talk to musicians like you, and it comes through, like I can see how passionate you are. It's an obsession. It's beyond passion. And it reminds me a lot of me when I was in that position. And so it makes me feel in tune. And like, we're coming back to, the same analogy. It makes me feel in tune when I can, share some of these lessons that we learned. So yeah, this is awesome. Okay, so do we have any other questions, or people who want to come on here and say something live? It is a great analogy. Yeah, I was pretty excited when I started thinking about that. Things kind of started falling into place. Cool. So that about wraps up this call. Next call, I'm going to dive really deep into the exact step-by-step formula. So I'm going to create a PDF blueprint, and the blueprint is going to be a downloadable thing that anyone who shows up can get for free. That is going to give you a step-by-step instructions for where should you start, using bands in town, how to choose the right songs that you share with people, how to meet people, how to approach them, and kind of just have my best tips and give it to you in a mind map style. So it's step by step, so that you have something that you don't necessarily have to rewatch the videos. You can just kind of review this PDF, and it can kind of give you a track as you do this yourself. Also tomorrow, I want to dive really deep into hot seats, and maybe we can find one or two people who are feeling brave and want to like come on and do like a hot seat where we really dive deep and plan out something and kind of go through the process and figure out how they're going to do it. All right, so the quote unquote homework for today is to take those bands that you made the list of 5 to 10 of your dream tours, and go onto bands in town and just track as many as feels right until like you start running out of people to track, and track as many as possible. Find maybe 5 to 10 shows, or just find as many shows as you can that would be like a possibility. Maybe even just one. Even just finding one show would be a big step for a lot of you, I think. So do that, go on bands in town, find one show that you think would be a possible show that you might want to go do this at. So yeah, this has been really awesome. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'm excited to be here and to be sharing this with you. Lewis, that's awesome that you're planning on doing this. And yeah, if you guys have any more questions, feel free to reach out, michael@modernmusician.me. And tomorrow I'll be here at the exact same time at 4 p.m. Central. All right. Darren says down. Melanie says, I volunteer as tribute. I emailed you the link. Check it out. Nice. Yeah, I definitely will check it out. I think we all want to plan our tour hacking with Michael. LOL. Yeah. I mean, that's what tomorrow's session is going to be all about. So I'm going to have that download for you, and then we're going to do hot seats. And I'm going to be here for as long as I possibly can, just helping you guys. So if multiple people want to be in the hot seat, then we'll dive in. And I think everyone's probably going to learn a lot from seeing other people go through the process. So, all right, I'll see you tomorrow at 4 p.m. Central. Bye.